Welcome to Grimm's Frightmares, dramatic readings of original and user-submitted stories. From haunted roads and houses, to mist-covered battlefields, to that noise you just heard in the darkness behind you. These stories will quicken your pulse, fill you with dread, and make you wonder if you're really alone in your house right now. So ignore that scraping against your window. After all, it's probably just the wind. And settle in for tonight's tale of terror. Hi, this is Jess Paul, narrator for Grimm's Frightmares, and I'd love to tell you about my real paranormal experience. I've always been interested in the paranormal and scary stuff, horror movies, ghost stories, but this story didn't necessarily start out as one. I've been living in the same house for most of my life in a suburb of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I never had any ghostly experiences in the first few years living there, except for a childish round of Ouija board when I was 7 or 8. Playing it on Christmas morning, great Christmas present, right? My dad, brother, and sister and I concluded that there was a little girl ghost in the house named Sally, and she lived in the cellar. But she spelled cellar wrong. Later, after getting notes and signs from the ghost in my attic, I found out that my dad had been pranking us kids the whole time. But interactions with a little girl ghost did not exactly stop with my dad's pranks, though. A few years later, I was now 11 years old, and I had long forgotten about our fake ghost. It was nighttime in the house, and I was exiting the bathroom on the second floor. Just as I exited, I saw my sister enter her bedroom diagonally down the hall. All those movements happened in an instant. I opened the door as she just entered her dark room, but I could still absorb enough detail to recognize she was wearing a light nightshirt. At this, I made the last-minute decision to scare her. She hadn't turned on her overhead light, and her bedroom was set up in a way that I could duck down through her doorway and slip beside her bed without her seeing. I did this, seeing that she hadn't gotten into bed yet. She was somewhere else in her dark room, probably getting ready to get into bed. I was tucked in between her bed and right side wall, not far from the door, which had maybe 2 feet of room for me to hide. I listened excitedly, waiting to hear her impress upon her mattress, which was when I was going to jump out. I waited a minute or two longer than I had planned, hearing absolutely nothing when I expected to hear her moving about, walking around and getting ready to tuck in. Just then, I heard her voice. Only it wasn't in the room. It was speaking to someone else all the way down on the first floor. When I realized she couldn't have been in the room I was currently in, I bolted out of the room and down the stairs. I always claim this is the most solid paranormal experience I have ever had. I was so certain that a specific person walked into a room in my house that I assumed nothing less than she was alive and real. But the story doesn't end there. It was a whole 15 years later. I was 25 or 26, and my brother and sister twins were 23. My sister and I had become filmmakers, and she was debuting a ghost hunting documentary at a local theater. On the car ride back home, it was exceptionally relevant to bring up the subject of our own possibly paranormal experiences. I recited my story to oohs and ahs, except for my brother, who squinted sideways at me. He was remembering a story of his own. The twins had shared a room until they were about 10. He recalled entering their bedroom years ago during the day, because he saw my sister enter it and he wanted to tell her something. When he turned the corner into the room, he didn't see her anywhere. He chalked it up to a mistake and never brought it up again. I was amazed and confused why I had never heard his story. It was so similar that I wasn't sure if maybe he was remembering my account as his own. We siblings sometimes did that. We would tell each other a story too much, and then years later accidentally attribute it to happening to ourselves. Or maybe he was just pranking me now. It's pretty clear to me that I'll never really know. If you enjoyed this story, please be sure to subscribe below and check out our other offerings here at Grimm's Scary Tales. You can also find us on other social media. Just click the links on your screen. If you have a story you'd like to hear us read, click on the link to submit a story and tell us all about your personal frightmare. Thanks for listening.